Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly wrap up with Councilwoman Torres about District 3 and what's happening both in Denver City Council and our council district. And I'm really honored to be joined by John Deffenbaugh, who is the Executive Director of Historic Denver. Hey, John.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here, and thank you so much for taking time out. For some of our residents who may not know who you are or who Historic Denver is, give us a little bit of background.
Sure. Historic Denver is a local nonprofit. We've existed since 1970 when we were founded to save the former home of the Titanic survivor Molly Brown. So we saved that building on Pennsylvania Street, which is now the beloved Molly Brown House Museum. And since then, we've become the city's foremost advocate for promoting and protecting the places and spaces that matter to Denverites and working with communities to identify the spaces that are important to them, stories that those spaces tell, and then working together in partnership to ensure those spaces last into the future.
That's amazing. And I know for my district, we've had a lot of overlap in issues and special places with Historic Denver. Most recently with the Excel building, obviously, and the plant in Alama Lincoln Park right at the river, but also tremendous support in helping get the Lama Lincoln Park Cultural Historic District created, which encapsulated, I think, not just the park, but surrounding homes that would help preserve the architecture of the neighborhood. And those both have been really important to have Historic Denver's support. So really thank you and your entire organization for that support.
Our pleasure. It's a really wonderful and activated community.
One of the things that's been, I think, a really high topic for conversation about District 3 has to do with Burnham Yard, frankly. And I know that Denver's been part of the conversation for at least a couple of years since the state acquired it. And we're starting to do some due diligence to see if they could utilize the space any differently in their ownership. But do you have any background on Historic Denver's engagement in Burnham? Like what is Burnham Yard, and why is it something that we care about right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been interested in Burnham Yard for over 10 years. It's such a unique and special site. And until recently, there were buildings there that told that unique and special story. Burnham Yards is one of the oldest railway yards in the city. It was a railway facility before Colorado was a state. And the really unique and special thing about it is the social story it tells, that during World War II, because of the labor shortages with men going off to fight in the war, many women and people of color were able to work at the yard and work alongside each other and work alongside white men. And that was really unusual for that period during the time of segregation, during the time when a woman's place in society was exceedingly different to as it is just now. And so people were able to work alongside each other. And until recently, there were buildings that were physical representations and reminders of that period. There was a locker room for women. There was a locker room for people of color. There were industrial facilities where huge advances in railway lubricants were created, and the transition from timber to metal railway cars was created. So a number of advancements, both social and technological, occurred on the site, and then that played into a subsequent change in the ability for people of all backgrounds to access education over the coming decades. So Burnham Yard really was an important place at a formulative time for the whole United States. And until recently, there were buildings that talked to that story. Unfortunately, on Saturday, July 26th, I remember that date well, there was a demolition took place on the yard. CDOT moved in, and without warning or communication with us or local communities or even the city's Department of Community Planning and Development, they moved in and demolished the buildings which told that social story. There's now two structures left on the site. One is the locomotive shed beside the 8th Avenue overpass, and the other is a turntable in the ground. Both wonderful reminders of the past, but neither tell the social story that I just talked about. Neither speak to the technological advances or the slow change in mindset for the ability of women and people of color to work in an industrial setting. Sadly, those buildings are gone. And it's just so incredibly disappointing that CDOT chose that course of action and moved in without any communication or dialogue. We were really hopeful that there'd be a follow-up to our meeting we had with CDOT in April when they expressed their desire to demolish these buildings. And we said, hey, let's have a conversation about this. We've been trying to get to this table for years. We're now finally here together. Let's talk about some sort of compromise or strategy which could achieve both of our objectives. Older buildings can be incorporated into new development, and they can enrich new development, especially sports infrastructure. There's numerous examples across the country where older buildings are integrated into new stadiums and really provide such a unique and beautiful point of difference. And it's just so sad that there wasn't the vision to consider that as an option here, and that the buildings have now been removed from the site without any, dialogue or communication, particularly with the local communities who are going to be most affected by whatever the future holds for the site.
Yeah, I think that was the most stunning part for me as well. Obviously, with the state ownership, they don't have to go through the same kind of process when you demo a building that everyone else has to go through. That would have allowed for either a protest petition or something else to slow down any of that demolition. So I can appreciate Historic Denver and your reaction to having lost those structures, because there's a whole community that really does embrace adaptive reuse, right? Taking a building that has all of that history and has a story to tell, and modernizing the interior and modernizing the way that we interact with it. I think you really successfully were able to get there with El Chapultepec, another location that was slated for demolition, that you were able to say, hey, there is a way for you to do both. And so let's make sure that we're having that conversation.
Yeah, that's an owner who chose to work with us and integrated the older, very culturally significant building into a really wonderful new development. And it's such a great example of the new and the old working together. And also in the surrounding area of Lodo, there's so many buildings where we have the beautiful older historic exterior and then a more modern interior to suit contemporary commercial needs. And also, if you look at Lodo, it's one of the most economically vibrant parts of the city. So it just shows that the new and the old can work really, really well together. And I think, just one more aspect of Burnham Yard, that the lack of engagement with the community is so stunningly unfortunate to me, because it's many of the relatives and the ancestors of those current community members who would have worked in Burnham Yards and would have themselves been part of that social story that it told. And for them not to have been given a heads up or have been given a say in the future of those buildings. And we were only talking about a maximum of 6 relatively smaller structures. For the community not to have had a say in the future of those is so disappointing and disrespectful.
I look at some other places where we've successfully done that, and think about even Auraria campus that still has 3 main churches that were there when the campus was a neighborhood, but then a street of homes, right? 9th Street is an historic district. It is one of the best preserved locations to reimagine what it was like to live in that neighborhood at that time. And from what I understand from advocates who were there at the time as kids, remember St. Cajetan's was about to be demoed. It was about to be knocked down and was saved. And so it is only through community advocacy and passion that a lot of the buildings that we cherish today that share that history are still here to demonstrate that for us and remind us of the things that were here before us.
Yeah, Denver's such a young city, a young and vibrant city, but that makes the buildings that we do have from the past so valuable and so special to us. And I just think we need to, fight for their ability to remain and to continue to enrich our city into the future. Our area is such a great example because, of course, there was a whole community displaced to build the campus. And walking around it today, it's a really architecturally enjoyable place to be and to walk. But my personal favorites are the church you just remembered. And I've seen pictures from newspapers from the past with the church surrounded by the rubble of what used to be there, suggesting it's almost what's next to go.
Right.
But fortunately, it was saved. And it was actually also Historic Denver, one of our early projects that saved 9th Street, which is, I think, for many people, one of the most beautiful parts of the campus. Historic Denver raised over $1 million to save and restore those buildings. And then they were donated to the state and to the campus. And it's such a really great oasis in the middle of the campus.
I love that. And there's a current group of displaced Irarians and stakeholders who are trying to make sure that it remains that, right, that we continue to reinvest in keeping those homes up and it being an asset for community. John, I want to thank you so much. It's important to me and for all of my residents to know, especially those that live in Loma Lincoln Park, it is so important for me to have a community engagement process, no matter what happens to Burnham. I want Historic Denver at the table. I want neighbors at the table, the organizations that surround Burnham, the businesses that also surround Burnham. We can't forget there's a whole industrial corridor that's on the west side of that rail yard. And that rail yard overlaps what used to be Camp Weld, which was an Army camp that has a really storied connection to Sand Creek Massacre. And so it's also our Native community that have ties to that land and who used to be there and who's been affected by the things that have gone on in the Loma Lincoln Park neighborhood land. So thank you so much, John. Do you have any upcoming events or shout outs or ways that community can support Historic Denver?
Absolutely. Historic Denver is a membership organization. From $45 a year, people can join Historic Denver, support our mission, and also get discounts on some of our many events. We also have our biggest event and biggest fundraising event of the year coming up on October 16th. It's our annual gala and awards dinner where we'll be honoring some really wonderful people and projects that keep preservation alive in this city. And fun fact, our gala is also only one of 3 events the Brown Palace closes their historic atrium for. The other is the steer reception during the National Western Experience, and the other is Cotillion. So those are the 3. Please come to our gala October 16th. I'd love to see you there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John, for joining us, and have a wonderful weekend.
Great. Thanks so much, Councilwoman Torres.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
We have a couple updates. I really thank John for taking the time to come out. It's really important for us to understand all of the things that are happening, the dynamics that are happening that may not be public knowledge before they take place. And so that was definitely one of those that caught a lot of community by surprise. I do want to share some updates. This week in City Council, we advanced the measures of the bond to the ballot in November. So there will be 5 ballot measures that'll focus on 5 different areas of projects. District 3 really stands to seek a ton of investment. I think I counted almost $200 million worth of investment in our district from this upcoming bond. So want to be able to point you guys to our social media, to our newsletter, where we're going to share more about each of those projects. But really proud that the Santa Fe Streetscape made it in and is fully funded for completion. And then investment in the Sun Valley Riverfront Park, investment in Westside Health Clinic on Federal Boulevard, in the Animal Protection Clinic in the Valverde neighborhood, and then in our bridges, which are absolutely necessary investments. So I really appreciate everybody's input over the last couple of weeks, and hope to see the outcome of that in November. But just to update folks, there's going to be some staffing schedule changes in the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. So some solid waste pickup changes. They will not be collecting compost bins during the week of August 25th. So we will share that out, but just want to make sure that everyone's aware. In a couple weeks, don't put your compost bin out. They will get it the following week. And then this weekend is Saigon Azteca night market. It starts on Friday tonight and goes till 10 p.m. And then tomorrow, Saturday, starting at 1 o'clock. It's all happening in Westwood at Morrison Road in Perry. And I hope to see you guys 6 p.m. tonight, and then tomorrow from 1 to 9. If you haven't been able to see, I unboxed my Labubu yesterday, and I'm really ready to take him to get tattooed by Isaac Lucero. Just can't wait for all of it. There's going to be karaoke tonight. There's going to be a kimchi burrito eating contest tomorrow. There's always dance, entertainment, music, and there's going to be some of the best food available in Denver there. So hope to see you all there. And then before you go to Saigon Azteca tomorrow, stop by Colfax Elementary. They're doing a free backpack giveaway. It's hosted by Denver Police Department. So it's open for students of all ages. Thank you to Colfax Elementary. Thank you to DPD for coordinating that. It will start at 10 o'clock. You can get in line early because they will go until they run out of backpacks. They will be loaded with some school supplies. So this is something that your kid might still need. This will be your good opportunity to get that need met. That's it from us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks again to Historic Denver and to John, and we will see you next week.